Okay, hello again. This is John Ballantrae. It's another tarot video. So, sometimes you turn a card and your mind goes blank. You just don't know what to say about it. So maybe you pick another card to try and explain or confirm or point to the meaning of the first card. But that doesn't always work. And maybe what happens is you turn the card and you think, oh no, not this one again. I wish I had never got this one because I never know what to say about it. And these are the kinds of problems that happen to all of us at one time or another. And it's not just for beginners, because even people that have been reading cards for a while can be faced with this blank mind problem. And the thing is, it can spoil our experience and our enjoyment of doing a reading. But if you try what I'm going to tell you about in this video, the fear and the indecision are going to fade away, and you'll no longer be afraid when doing a reading, and you'll also get beyond the beginner stage and become independent, and this is a good thing, I think. First though, let me mention two new-ish sites. One is www.the-celtic-cross.com. I don't like one-word URLs like thisismynewsite.com, which is one word, but so I'll put on screen the URLs for the celticcross.com, as well as one called thetarotcourse.com, which is about the home study course, and it tells you what you get, what's in the course. There's a PayPal button, and so on. So those are a couple of sites that you might like to take a look at. You can also, there's a sign-up form if you want to be added to the newsletter, and that's in the About section on both those sites. The other thing is, I'm going to try and keep this short, but there's so much to say. And I think that if you're willing to put a little bit of time and effort into studying the tarot, you get an awful lot better results. Some people will offer like 6 classes and be reading the cards in 10 minutes, and that doesn't really work, I don't think. But time and effort that you put into the study is going to repay you many times over. So this video then, what's really stopping us from reading cards well, or being able to talk freely and easily about them and their meanings so we can answer people's questions? So this, I'm going to tell you a 30-second exercise you should do right now. So you're going to need to write something down. So maybe pause the video and get a pen and paper, or whatever it happens to be. So I'm assuming that you're good to go and you've got the pen and paper. So what you're going to do is write down, in 30 seconds, and I'll time you, as many words as you can for different emotions, like love, hate, and that's all I'll say, but there's more, obviously. So I'll keep the video running and tell you when you've had 10, and then 20, and then 30 seconds. So write down as many emotions as you can, starting now, and I'll count. That's about 10 seconds. Okay, that's about 20 seconds. Okay, that's about 30 seconds, so you've got your list. So I used to do this in a communications class in a local college, and it was useful because some people could think of only 2 or 3 words. So they might write love and hate and then get stuck. And it was as if that was all they could see. So it was difficult for them to talk about what was going on. And I'm saying that the more words that you know, the more you're going to see in a card or in a combination of cards. If you only know love and hate and, let's say, anxiety, you're going to find it more difficult to describe what's going on in a card and relate the picture in the card to the question that's been asked, so you can give a decent and kind of complete answer. So somebody might say, I love ice cream, or I love the New York Yankees or Manchester United or some sports team. And that's okay, because we know what the person means, right? But that, how do you feel about your children or your husband or wife? If all you know is love or hate, you're missing a lot of emotions in between. So you don't know what to say, or you can't say anything much. So you get stuck and have a blank mind. And it's a bit like looking at a card and not knowing what to say, because you don't have the words to express what it is that you want to say or what it is that you see there. So you do an awful lot better if you increase the number of words you can use to describe what's going on. So in that way you see subtleties and variations. So instead of this card saying or this card showing that you love this person, you might say it shows you like the person, or you like someone, or you admire them, or you respect them, or you feel happy with them, or you have confidence in them, or the opposite can be that you don't quite trust them, or you have doubts about them. So these are all shades of love and hate, right? But when you know these shades and the in-between stages, you can talk more easily and more comfortably about a card or a combination of cards, just because you've got more words that you can use. You're going to have more to say. You won't get stuck. And you're also, I think, going to be much more accurate in your interpretation. The other point is that in the college class, I used to ask, once everybody had written down their list of words, I would ask them to say what they had written down, and I would write everything on the board. And I would end up with maybe 30 words that people had found or had written down in the space of about a minute. But the thing is, invariably, for every good word or positive word, there were 4 or 5 negative words. So for every word like admiration, let's say, there would be fear, doubt, anxiety, worry, disdain, words like that. So people know many more words for bad states than for good ones. So take a look at your own list and see if you tend to look on the dark side, because it can mean that if you know more words for bad situations than good ones, you're going to speak more easily about problems or problem cards. So you can be reinforcing the difficulties that people are going through, right? Just because you're able to speak more freely about difficulties. But at the same time, you maybe skim over the good cards, or don't spend enough time talking about what's positive in the reading and encouraging people that they can achieve their goals or be successful in what they want to do. So if you look at a card and become quiet, or you can't quite put what you want to say into words, the solution is to read more. Not read tarot books, but read poetry and literature and material that you get more from if you think about it. So a book of quotes is quite good, quite useful, because it'll lead your thoughts in a certain direction. And the thing is, if you, I'm going to suggest Shakespeare in a minute, but and I'm going to give an example from the beginning of Romeo and Juliet. But if you take a quote or a line from Shakespeare, or a couple of lines of poetry, if you think about what it's saying, and it can mean more than one thing, and that's a good thing. If you do that, if you spend a little bit of time, it's a bit like you're going to open a door in your mind, and you're going to discover you know an awful lot more than you thought you did, and you're going to be able to do more with a card, and you're going to be able to do more to describe and explain to somebody what's going on, what's been happening, if it's a card for the past, how to deal with the situation creatively right now, and also what's likely to be coming up in the future. It's kind of magical what happens. But I'm saying this, but if you try it, you'll discover that it's actually true as well. So you probably know a little bit about Romeo and Juliet. They were the star-crossed lovers. So they were from different families. They fall in love, but they're kind of doomed because the families hate each other. So they're supposed to be enemies, right? So so the first three lines are, this is me doing Shakespeare. Two households, both alike in dignity. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny. So those are the first three lines. So if you have 5 minutes while you're waiting for somebody to call you back, right, or you're stuck in traffic, or you're in a waiting room, I'm suggesting that you look at a notebook or just remember what a bit of Shakespeare is, and think about and ponder on and meditate on the words that he uses and what he's trying to express. So the first thing is, we begin with two households, not two families, right? But it's a household. So like Lady Diana, who died in Paris years ago, she was Earl Spencer's daughter. So she was kind of like from a household because there was a family home. They'd been there for centuries. They had influence and power in the town or the village. People would look to them for guidance. They would respect them and so on. But it's a bit like if you're a member of that household and your household is an enemy of another household, even if you and I, let's say I'm in one household and you're in the other, even if we actually like each other, because I'm a member of a household, I've got to hate you because our households are enemies, right? So you can find that by beginning to play with two households and not two families, it's a whole big picture that you get. And there's an awful lot more going on or being described in these two words, two households. And you get that if you actually think about the words that Shakespeare uses. So the two households, both alike in dignity, right? So they both think of themselves as dignified, worth respecting, and so because they think they're dignified and they have dignity, if you point out flaws or problems, they're not going to believe you because they've got a high opinion of themselves because they're alike in dignity. Right, so if you point out a problem or a difficulty, they're not going to accept what you have to say. They're probably going to dig in their heels. They may add you to their hate list, right? So two households, both alike in dignity. So you've got the setup of one household, the other household, and the fact that they're going to lock horns because they're both alike in dignity. And that's fair Verona. But then we've got, from ancient grudge, there's a grudge between the two households. So somebody offended somebody else once upon a time, and the hostility and the hatred has continued on into the present. But it's an ancient grudge, right? So it's old. And maybe it's very possible that people have forgotten what the problem was in the first place, right? It happened so long ago that people don't remember why they hate each other. All they know is that they do. Right, so it's not a grudge, it's an ancient grudge. Right, so that word ancient adds a whole other level of meaning to the fact that it's a grudge. So, and then we've got break to new mutiny. So there's a mutiny, so people are going to disobey the captain, right? So they're going to disobey the household. So Romeo and Juliet is a mutiny, but it's a new mutiny because they're young members of the family. And they're not going to be held by or held captive by the grudge and the membership of the particular household. So I'm hoping that you can get the point and see that by taking something like Shakespeare or poetry, because things like Danielle Steele novels don't work because there's not a huge amount going on in a Danielle Steele novel. But Shakespeare and poetry and various other works of literature there's sort of levels of meaning and layers of understanding that you'll get an awful lot out of it. And you're sort of educating yourself, and you're going to become much more capable of reading a tarot card or reading a whole spread. So that's until the next time. At the moment, I'm also working on a new site where there's going to be audio for each card, and I'll let you know about that one. And then once that site is up and running, I'm going to get to work on the online tarot class. The audio one's going to be free, but I'm going to charge for the online class. And it's going to take you from beginning thinking about how to read cards to actually doing readings, and every step along the way. So that's it for the moment. If you have comments or questions, send me an email and we'll take it from there. Thanks very much.